your fingernails, picking at your frozen, picking at your fingernails, picking at your fro now, picking at your fingernails, picking at your fro now, picking at your fingernails, picking at your fro. Nervousness, 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 nervousness. You can never hide from your nervous system. Never hide from your system. You can never hide from your system. You can never hide from your nervous system. Bleeding, 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 bleeding in the wilderness. They belong, bleeding, 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 bleeding in the wilderness. They belong, bleeding, 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 bleeding in the wilderness. They belong where they belong. Bleeding, 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 bleeding in the wilderness. They belong, and where they will run away, run away.
Welcome to Acute Mania Live. There's a couple milestones tonight. Well, first of all, Matt Owen's with me from Iowa. That's the first milestone because we've never done any shows in Iowa yet. So thank you, Matt, for being on.
Yes, my pleasure.
The other milestone, well, we did a milestone. I think it was Monday or Tuesday. We celebrated the 300th show, so that was awesome. So this is 301, obviously. If you can do math, it's 301. I had to count, but anyway. And the other thing is, I have a new camera tonight, so we'll see if this works. I'm always nervous when I have new equipment, but it's for the better. You know, I got to constantly upgrade this show, and so I guess I'll have another one on show 401. I'll buy another camera. I don't know, something like that. Anyway, welcome to the show, man. It's nice to have you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know there's a lot in your bio, but kind of tell the folks, the viewers that might not have read your bio and are just kind of checking out the show tonight. Tell them a little bit about you.
Well, there's so much to go over. Well, as far as my musical life goes, I've been in bands ever since I was in 9th grade in high school, which was 1991. 1992, but joined my first band. Before that, I was in choir. I took piano lessons. I've always been a musician, of some kind. But the first band I ever joined was called the Velvet Pickles, and it was a hardcore punk band.
Sounds like it, yeah.
Oh yeah, we were pretty wild at the time. That's sort of a common theme of all the bands I've been in. We're all just a bunch of wild guys, and now I'm about ready to hit 50 here in a couple of years, and I'm not as wild as I used to be, but that comes with the territory. But anyway, I think the band most people know me from is a band called Bloodcow. Bloodcow.
Awesome name.
We started year 2000. and ended our run like in 2015.
Wow.
Never officially called it quits, but there were some of us that just had different things going on in our lives, and 15 years was a long time, and we all just had to go our separate ways.
Was
It
it?
was
Did it stay
totally fine.
constantly? Did it stay with the same members consistently in it for the entire 15
No,
years? No.
no. I was me and our guitar player, 1987, right? We were the two constant members. It was me, 1987, and then Dead Knight, aka Scott Adams, who's in another band with me right now, who was in the first punk band I was ever in, the Velvet Pickles. I've been buddies with Scott for years and years. We've been making music for years together, but we changed the roster up quite a bit. I think we had 3 or 4 different bass players, 3 different drummers, and 87 played guitar the entire time, but then we brought in a secondary guitar player, Bones, our friend JJ, and then we made our first album and went up to Chicago and played a show with some friends that were already starting to do a little touring, and we're like, you know what, we want to do this. So the rest is history. We started releasing albums and going on the road, and these are the days of very early MapQuest,
Yeah.
and when the only place you could buy a cell phone was in a kiosk in the mall, and only one of us had one, and it's a lot easier to book shows and travel nowadays, but back
Yeah.
then it was either email or calling by phone, and then having a road atlas, just praying to God you're going to get there or not run into traffic, or which you always do, or there's going to be road closures and you got to figure another way there, and it's all one person's the navigator, and
Oh
by
yeah, it
the
was a
time you
nightmare.
get there you just want to drink beer and
Yeah.
not even do the show, but yeah,
Yes.
lots of fun.
Several chatters. I'd say several, but several for this early, and that's great. Thank you guys for chatting. Roger B just gives you the horns 3 times. Aaron Gum says Velvet Pickles. Woo!
Yeah, Aaron was in the Velvet Pickles. He was
Nice.
the bass player of the Velvet Pickles, and is still very, very active in Omaha.
Okay.
His last project was called Glow in the Dark. But Aaron has won Omaha Entertainment Awards, and he's a all around great guy, good friend of mine since elementary school, and has helped Bloodcow out a lot, and actually recorded the Corporate Merger EP that I released a couple years ago.
Sweet.
Yeah, so good to
Uh,
see you, Aaron. Thanks for
yeah,
tuning
and
in.
Brad in Sioux City, that's his screen name. Brad in Sioux City also gives you the rock horns. And Guns for Frogs, which is a good friend of mine, very, very big supporter of the show and makes great music. Guns for Frogs says, loving the Dungeons and Dragons shirt.
Hey, thank you. It's a classic. If you're a Dungeons and Dragons nerd, you'll recognize this from the basic edition, which is, in my opinion, one of the finest editions. But
I don't know
I am
anything
a
about that
role
stuff.
player.
I know nothing about that stuff, so I can't.
I'm a huge nerd, so I play D&D every other week. I have
Yeah.
a group that's been playing for like 3 years now. I used to play back in high school, and things got really busy, and I was on the road and doing albums and going to parties and doing drugs, and I didn't have time for D&D anymore. But now that I'm older and I'm more settled down, and I've got
I saw a band recently, well, sort of recently, a few months ago, up at the Green Beacon Gallery, which is just east of Pittsburgh, and I can't remember who it was right off, but they set up a game of D&D before the show. Like they made sure they got to the venue because the venue owner plays it too, and they just right where everybody stands, like before everybody got there, before doors were even open, they made a big table and had a big tournament. I was like, "Jeez,
wow."
really?" Who was that? I'm trying to think who that was. I'll think of it here in a minute. But yeah, I was like, okay, was it the? It might have been See You Next Tuesday, but I don't. Yeah, I think it was. If you've ever heard of See You Next Tuesday from Michigan, they've been out for several years. Guns for Frogs says I have to fully agree with you on that. Probably about the shirt or something.
Oh
About
yeah,
something.
yeah,
Anyway.
good stuff.
Okay, now I got to ask you. These aren't like these are names that I'm sure have meaning. The names of the bands that you've been in. So
Yeah.
let's start with Velvet Pickles. Where did that come from? It's pretty cool.
That band name, our band had two bass players. So there was Aaron, who I mentioned earlier, and then and he was a Dr. DNA. Then we had Pappy Smear, our friend Nate.
These are
He's the one
crazy
who came up with the name. He told us one day that he had a dream in which God told him we needed to name the band the Velvet Pickles.
Right.
And we're like, okay, divine intervention, we'll take that one.
Yeah, you're gonna
You
have
know, so we just named it the Velvet Pickles. Before I joined, the band had already been through a couple incarnations. And I think they were Rot, which was Reign of Terror. And
Right.
then after that was My Flesh Comes Crawling Home. So the Velvet Pickles was a,
Yeah.
you know, compared to those two names, was quite a change.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Bloodcow came along, and it's like, well, where'd that come from?
Yeah, Bloodcow.
Bloodcow.
Yeah. Well, I don't think anybody really remembers. Bloodcow drank a lot, so you know a lot of the history is hazy. But I personally remember us, you know, trying to come up with a name because we had a show coming up, and we originally had called the band Sawed Off, and we were like, yeah, doesn't really. We just didn't feel like it really fit. And we were doing a show, which was one of the last shows at a place, an infamous punk rock venue, all ages punk rock venue in Omaha called the Cog Factory. And we're like, well, we need a name, you know, because one of our buddies who booked us there was like, you know, what should I put on the flyer? And we had all these names laid out. And I personally remember Blood, you know, some name with blood in it, and then another name with cow in it, and they were really close together. And I'm like, Bloodcow. And we were, you know, that's how I think it went. It didn't really there was no meaning to it. We just thought, hey, that's great, you know, because our music is aggressive, but sort of silly, you know, at the same time.
Is there a song called Dick for Days?
There is a song called Dick for Days.
Okay. Do you mind if I play that a little bit? I found it on here. I just want to play a little bit of it. So.
Oh, you go. Yeah. You go
I feel like I need to
ahead.
hear this. I need to hear something.
Oh, yeah. This is actually a cover song, which
Okay.
wasn't really a cover. We had a fictional band. And then we said we covered the fictional band. But
well, should I play a different one, or is that one okay?
There's all kinds. I mean, if you want to play, one of my favorites is called Ultra Super Sexual.
I saw that one too. Yeah, let's definitely play that one. Yeah. Okay, let's play a little bit of that. Oh, I got it ready.
Do you wanna do me right now, baby? Do you wanna do me right? Dancing naked in the forest, baby, underneath the pale moonlight.
All right, I'm gonna get a couple of those and listen to them. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. I
really good.
sang for Bloodcow, and we
now, can I find the pickles on there too? Will Velvet Pickles come up if I search for it?
Probably not. Probably not. That was in the days of cutting demos on analog 4-track recorders, and everything's on cassette. I don't think we ever put anything streaming since then.
Yeah, it was before that time, I guess. Right?
And there's another band that I'm currently in called Miho. And we released our first album in 2009 on Reverb Nation, and are currently in the process of remixing and remastering that, and that will be streaming soon. And we're working on a new album. We've written it. We're in the process of recording that right now, and then we should be doing some shows here, hopefully next summer.
You're a busy fella, you
I
know.
am, and I'm currently writing my next solo venture. You know, Corporate Merger is my solo project. So I released the 4-song EP, and now I'm doing a full length.
I was just going back and reading a little bit of your bio here again, and yeah, you've done a lot of a lot of things. Um, okay, so I met you. Well, I guess I got in contact with you through Dale, my buddy Dale. That
Yes.
those of you that don't know, Dale was the very first guest on the show. We graduated high school together. He now lives in Nashville, and I just went to his wedding last summer. It was an '80s hair metal band wedding. It was the shit. And he'll hopefully be joining us a little bit later on. But I needed to. I'm trying to get all 50 states, to have on the show, and I've never done Iowa. And he goes, "Well, Matt lives in Iowa. Hit up Matt." And I'm like, "All right." So here we are.
Yeah. And I met Dale through Bloodcow because
I was going to ask you how you guys met.
Yeah, we'd roll into New Jersey, and he booked us on a couple of shows, and we played with his band Patsy.
Yep.
And then he also had Demo, and we did a show with them as well.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one of our shows, I think it was the show with Demo. We played Manhattan the night before, and someone broke into our van and stole everything out of it. But all of our gear was in the venue, so we still had our gear.
Oh,
but they
good.
took everybody's clothes,
Oh, jeez.
like everything. So nobody had any clothes.
Oh, man.
And you know what? No, this was a few nights before that, and I remember us not having anywhere to stay and having to sleep in the van, like, on the city streets here and there, and no one had showered. And then finally we got to this show, and we just smelled horrendous. And yeah, it was bad.
Well, you were in New Jersey, so I'm sure you smelled like everybody else did.
Yeah. You know what? I never thought of that. Now I don't feel so bad.
I went and visited him one time when he lived in the the Garden State, and I meant to say it like that. In Trenton, and I will never go back. Not because of him, nothing because of him or his friends. It was just there's nothing really to go back for,
Yeah, it's a rough place.
It is,
that's
yeah,
for sure.
There's really nothing there.
But Dale and his band treated us very well,
yes.
Which is why we decided to go back there.
Nice.
Because we thought Dale was great. I personally loved Patsy. I thought that was a great band, and I still listen to their CD.
Yeah.
Like every year or two, I'll break it out and listen to it. It's great. I've got tons of CDs and records that I picked up from bands over the years, playing shows with them and traveling and everything. And that is one of those that it's just with my normal collection of albums.
Yeah.
It's just great. So I can't help but listen to it every once in a while.
Yeah, he's a fantastic musician, a great friend, and like you said, he's very he'll do anything for anybody, really. That's the kind of person you want in your circle. It's what kind of person.
Yeah.
I try to be like that too. I think everybody does. If you're genuine, if you're a nice person, then I don't know. But yeah, he when Patsy when he was in Morgantown, in West Virginia here, I saw him all the time. Because we were good buddies, and he actually sent me a video. I think I posted to my Instagram of me back in 2002 when I was 22 years old, and I look like a child. Like I've aged not very well since that time. But they were young too. But it was just because nobody had camera phones. It was just somebody had a camcorder, and I think it was his girlfriend at the time had a camcorder, and it was just they were at a show at Spanky's in Morgantown, and I was there, and yeah, it was just. But yeah, I used to go see them all the time. The Patsy. So
I'm so glad that we were able to do all of that without smartphones, because
yeah, how did we get pie?
I've got tons of little mini DV tapes because we would take a camera with us and we just film all kinds of stuff. And I remember like taking a picture of them just like a year or two ago, like all stacked up, and then like sending them to all the guys in Bloodcow. And I'm like, who wants to lose their job or get divorced? Like we've got it all here, all the incriminating evidence. And I really hope someday I'm able to take those and we're able to, digitize all of those tapes, because there's just, all of the people that we met, all the friends that we made, all the different venues that we played, are on those tapes, and those tapes it's not a stable format, over time, those tapes are going to degrade. So,
Yeah. Well, yeah, you should be able to do it. I mean, or Dale could do it for you. He loves to do that kind of stuff.
there's another project to throw on the shelf there.
Exactly. Well, hey, what do you say we listen to one of the Corporate Merger songs? But before we do, tell us a little bit about Corporate Merger, and the name's cool. The guys on the show the other night said they're like, I really like that name. Tell us a little bit about your solo project.
Okay. So I wrote, well, first of all, during the pandemic, I got furloughed from my job for about 3 months, and was just sitting at home collecting a check. And I'm like, this apocalypse is pretty cool for the fact that I don't have to get work and I'm still getting paid, and I'm just sitting here making art and drawing music, and I don't have to talk to anybody. So I'm like, I'm gonna, and I was just, with everything political going on at the time and all of that kind of stuff, I was just supercharged to write some music. And that's how it got started. So during those 3 months, I wrote 5 songs. And then when the pandemic started to sort of, taper down, I got together with my buddy Aaron, and I'm like, hey, I'd really love to record these songs. And then my friend Scott, who was one of the founding members of Bloodcow, I'm like, hey, would you play drums on this? And would you play guitar on it? And he's like, sure, no problem. So I played bass. I wrote the songs, played bass on the recording, and sang. Scott did the drums, Andy did guitar, and Aaron helped me record all my parts. Scott recorded his in his studio in Lincoln, Nebraska. Aaron lives in Omaha, Nebraska, so I would drive down from Sioux City, and work with Aaron. And then it all just came together. Scott mixed it. We mastered it and just got it up. But I mean, it's a lot of the songs are just sort of, based off of what was sort of going on at the time, and just the mania surrounding everything, and the fact that social media and everything, as new as it was, and I mean, Facebook, MySpace, all of that kind of stuff is relatively new. I feel like we all feel like it's been around forever. But it was interesting to see how that and 24-hour news like played into everything. And so I encapsulated all of that in these songs. The 5th song, once we started to record it, I was like, this isn't working. I just wasn't a fan of the way it was, starting to come along. So I scrapped that. So it just ended up being 4 songs. And I'm like, I'll see how this does, see what people think. And maybe I'll do a full-length one later on.
Yeah. Well, I want to take a listen to my TV first, if that's cool with you.
Hey.
What is this about? Is it about your TV?
Oh, this one is about, yeah, sort of. This one is about 24-hour news,
Nice.
Social media, and its effects on fundamentalists and conspiracy theorists, and how everybody was just losing their fucking minds.
Exactly.
And everybody was a know-it-all about everything all of a
Oh,
sudden.
I know. There's constant arguments about everything. Yes.
Yeah.
And nobody knew.
And just sort of like how that exploded. So that's this song here. And it, all my songs sort of have an element of humor. I can't take myself too seriously.
Yeah.
I just can't. I'm not that kind of person. So
I think it's great. It's good stuff because well, let's take a listen to my TV first, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. By Corporate Merger, this is really good. You'll like it.
It's getting dangerous these days. The violence spreads on the airwaves. Illuminati and their men putting chips inside our skin. The lizard men are in their offices, working hard again.
It's it's just so much fun, regardless of
Yeah,
what it's
yeah,
about. It's just a fun beat.
yeah. It's meant to be wacky and fun, but there was so much wacky stuff going
Yeah,
on
it
at the
matches.
time. I mean, people were, you had to, like in the lyrics, you hear me talking about the whole, like, pizza shop deal that was going on, like, oh, they've got the secret base under the pizza shop, and they're eating the children's adrenochrome, and all of that kind of stuff. And I was just getting such a kick out of all of that. Yeah, I just had to make a song about it.
Yeah, of course, or
Um,
just go insane and like everybody else was doing.
yeah. I mean, that's, I don't know. I tend to think maybe us more calmer people are the insane ones.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I started a podcast. And
Yeah,
I didn't even think I was going to go do anything after it was over. I was just doing this to pass the time, because I, couldn't go anywhere or to shows or even go play shows. So I was like, well, heck,
yeah.
this would be a good time to start. So here I am, still four and a half years later, still doing it. So it's fun.
Yeah. I mean, as far as like people who are creative or artists, I mean, especially when you're our age and older, I mean, you pretty much bit the bullet, and
Yeah. Yeah.
well, I'm gonna be the poor guy who just loves to create and make things and make art, and that's, for most of us, that's enough. That's
Yeah,
enough.
and I've met
That's
so
what
many
we want.
people, through the show, that are just like that. Like, well, Guns for Frogs, for example. I mean, great music. It's all over the place, but it's like what is it, like controlled chaos? But it's terrific.
Yeah.
And just and I've had a mentalist on the show. I went to Pittsburgh and interviewed a mentalist. That was
Oh,
fun.
wow.
I've had an illusionist on 3 times, the same guy 3 times, and he does other things other than illusions. He jumps out of airplanes with a wingsuit and does a lot of that.
Oh my
Um,
God.
yeah, so he's a thrill seeker basically, but
Yeah.
he also does magic and stuff. And I've seen him. I've met him here, and on his tour and stuff. So, but yeah, it's just we were trying to find something to do during the pandemic, but our whole lives we were trying to find something to do, and this is what we ended up with.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
this is our
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, I think people are going to look back and just see, uh, you know, it, it's sort of like when you look at wars and you see how much technology goes into these wars, and then all of a sudden this technology starts being used
Yeah,
in our
it's
everyday
scary.
lives, or like the space program, like Teflon and things like that. And I think the pandemic, we're seeing a lot of that, just as far as the way that we communicate, um, and our ability to express ourselves, and to get out to a wider audience than ever before,
Yeah.
and connect with people that we may have never met before in our
Oh
entire
yeah.
lives, and create these relationships with them, and be able to share our art, and our music and everything with everybody.
Did you stock up on paper towels and things like that during the pandemic?
um I was a little too late.
I
I
was
did
too.
go,
I didn't know
I'm
what was
like,
going on. I'm like, why is there no paper towels? I need paper towels
yeah.
really bad.
Luckily, my employer had a bunch of toilet paper, and my boss at the time was like, "Here, man, here's some rolls. Just take them home, everybody. Here you
Yeah,
go."
yeah.
They're, um,
Jesus. I think we had
so
some of that around here too. My buddy lived or was working somewhere that had them in bulk, but it was like the crappy ones. Like the ones that they're
yeah,
like sandpaper.
yeah,
Those the commercial
yeah.
ones or whatever.
The
Yeah.
stuff that's like the tissue paper that you like wrap gifts in.
Yeah, yeah, it's exactly like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or you
and,
can
and
you
in the
scrape
long
paint with it.
run, you're like, hey, I got socks, I got a washing machine,
Yep.
I'm gonna be okay.
Exactly. Well, maybe, but then the news. Then you watch the news and be like, well, maybe I'm not going to be okay because
Yeah,
my.
that's true. That's true.
But yeah, it's that was a shitty time. It wasn't a terrible time, but it was a shitty time. It wasn't terrible
Yeah,
because we found things to do and we got through.
yeah.
So
We were resilient.
did you ever wear a mask in your car with nobody else in the car with you? Were you one of those people?
No,
Did you ever
no.
see people like that, like in traffic? You would look over and there'd be nobody else in the car, but they'd be
Yes. Oh yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? What? Like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, no, never did, but I respect
yours.
everybody's rights to do what they wanted to do,
For the
you
most part,
know.
yeah.
But of course, you know, with the beginning, especially like where I worked, they were enforcing masks and everything, and I'm like, that's fine, whatever.
Yeah.
But there were people who would come in who just, you know, you were their mortal enemy, you know, and they were just coming in to prove that they didn't have to wear one. And I
Yeah.
got spit on, and I got told people were going to come back and shoot me, and had some guy like tell me he was going to beat me up. And I saw a couple people get in a fight like out in the front of our store, and I'm just
because
like,
of
this is
masks.
insane.
Yeah, but I mean, it was every day for a good year and a half. It was the same arguments. You know, nobody was right, but everybody thought they were right. You know.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, we're over and past it now, so
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
whatever. But
We
it,
can move
it
on
was
with our
a
lives
wild
finally.
time to be alive.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of want to, I kind of want to move into the landmark thing that I was telling you about before we went live, because I found something that in Council Bluffs that I need to ask you about.
Sure.
It just seems cool, and I've never heard of this before. But before I go to mine, I want you to tell us your landmarks and the stuff, because I don't know anything about that area. I know you said you're in Sioux City now, but Sioux City's not really that far from Council. What's the town? Is it Omaha that's right beside Council Bluffs?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And I Bloodcow was, you know, pretty much an Omaha band. We were all from Council Bluffs, but Bloodcow started in Bellevue, Nebraska, which is pretty much just a suburb of Omaha now. And then we moved to Omaha a year later, and lived in Omaha during the band's entire existence, and up until like the last couple of years. And Omaha is a great town, and at the time, back in the early 2000s, there was so much going on in Omaha. It was just amazing. In fact, um, from the late 80s, early 90s, all the way through like 2010, I would say Omaha had a great like 20 years of local music that was just amazing. And a lot of those bands, you know, ended up going on to do bigger things, or the people in them went off to do you know, work with other bands and stuff like that. And because you had like Saddle Creek Records start up, and you had bands like Cursive, and you had Bright Eyes, and all of that kind of stuff going on at the same time, and was bringing a lot of eyes on Omaha. And Omaha really became sort of an indie rock hub. And there was just some wonderful venues there. And we
311
can talk
311 is
about
from
that
Omaha,
later.
right? 311.
What's that?
311 was from Omaha, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
they
that's
were.
right. I remember that because it's in one of the rhymes from one of the very first albums. Anyway, yeah, I remember them saying Omaha a lot.
Yep.
Yeah. Are there any famous, or not famous, but more well-known bands from Council Bluffs that people would know?
Just us, baby. Just us.
That's I mean, yeah.
Yeah, really. I mean, otherwise I can't really think of any others. I mean, there were a lot of like little punk bands, you know,
Yeah.
going on. We had our buddies in a band called Weed, that we played with all the time.
That sounds familiar.
It-
Would that sound from? I don't know why that would sound weed.
It's WEAD.
Oh,
But we played, you know, the Velvet Pickles played with them all the time.
yeah.
And then, you know, but Council Bluffs right now, I mean, there's some musicians who live there. There's DSM-5. There's, man, I don't really know if there's much more going on there. They play in Omaha. I mean, Omaha is the place.
Yeah.
And Council Bluffs is really, even though it's in Iowa, you can just consider it, you know, a suburb of Omaha. It's part of the metro area.
Yeah.
But there's some of my friends opened up a bar venue in Council Bluffs called Maloney's. And they're starting to have bands there quite regularly, which I think is cool. So they're bringing some of the Omaha bands over there to play, and vice versa. Council Bluffs people are crisscrossing. And I I haven't lived in Council Bluffs for quite a while, so other than what I hear from my friends and see online when I go back to visit, I don't know exactly what's happening there all the time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what kind of are there any kind of strange landmarks or just or funny or weird or just interesting?
Yeah,
I guess yes. Okay.
yeah.
All right. Have at it.
Okay. Well, the first one I'm going to talk about is the most notorious.
Okay.
And this is if you live in Council Bluffs, or even a lot of people who live in Omaha know about this landmark. It's called the Black Angel, or otherwise known as the Ruth Ann Dodge Memorial.
With the
And it
tears,
is
right? The thing with is that the thing with the tears?
no,
Okay.
there's
Okay.
no
Never mind.
tears.
Never mind. I
Um,
made up something else.
well, yeah, there might as well be. I mean, there's so many rumors surrounding it, but I've never heard the
Okay.
tears one.
Maybe
But
that was somewhere
anyway,
else. Yeah.
it's this giant bronze angel statue,
Okay.
and it was built by the guy who created the Statue of Liberty. He was I believe he was a French artist.
Hmm.
So that's one of the reasons it's sort of a big deal. But we had General Dodge, who was sort of the big shit back in the late 1800s, early 1900s in Council Bluffs. His wife, Ruth Ann Dodge, um, had a series of dreams, and she would dream she was on this boat and there was this angel who would come down and offer her to drink this water of life. And she told her daughters about it, and she never accepted the water. But supposedly, according to the story, like the third night she had this dream, she drank the water. She told her daughters about it, and then she passed away.
What?
Like, yeah.
So
So
it was the
they
water of
built,
death.
they,
Not the water of
yeah. It was a angel of death. But they had this monument erected to her in her memory. Her daughters did, I believe. And my parents lived 2 blocks down the street from it, so it was in my neighborhood, and I hung out there all the time. We used to play football and baseball behind the Black Angel. There's this big water tower that's there too, but it's huge and it's beautiful. But everybody's like, if you go there at midnight, you look into its
yeah.
eyes, you'll die, and like all this kind of stuff. Um, but it was constantly being vandalized. So they ended up putting a camera up there. So now
Oh.
it doesn't happen as often, but every
Well,
once in a
no, it's
while,
not
you'll drive up.
not with a camera on it. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing
Yeah,
to be caught.
but people would spray paint it and shit, and it sort of sucked, But um, uh,
That,
every once in a while, you'll go up there. People
that one
put
there, I can't really.
yeah,
Well,
there you
it just,
go.
yeah.
People will put
Hmm.
flowers in its hands and stuff like that. I
I'm gonna
mean,
have to read about that.
it's a beautiful landmark. And then the cemetery next door is amazing. And I spent a lot of time in that cemetery as a kid, playing and hiding and hanging out with my teenage friends, smoking pot up there and all kinds of stuff. And it's got soldiers from the Civil War and the Mexican American War buried up there, and it's a really cool cemetery, and it's gorgeous. It's really
I can't
old.
remember where that was. See, I do a lot of Google Earthing. I'm fascinated by Google Earth. I don't know why. I just like learning about other places. And I don't know where that black. It was something like this, but that's not it. That's why I looked it up just to see. But there was something, and I can't remember if it was around that area or not. But I'll have to. I don't know. I don't know where it was. But it was something
I
like
know
it was,
that.
it was a statue with like when it rains, the whatever it's made of makes it look like has black tears. Basically, is what it is. I
Well,
don't know.
everybody calls it the Black Angel, but there is also in Iowa City another like monument called the Black Angel.
I saw
And
that.
I
I saw
don't
that
know
when I was searching. Yeah,
yeah,
and I
I
didn't
don't
click
know
on
the
it.
story about that one. Um, Bloodcow played in Iowa City a number
Let's
of
see.
times, and I have friends who live there. And I've never asked them about the Black Angel.
See, it's an 8.5 foot tall burial monument for the federal Ververt family or whoever that is. It looks like that. Well, crap. Hang on. It's like a weather guy. Everything's backwards.
There we go.
Yeah, it's scrolling through. I can't stop it. I can't stop it.
Well, it's not as cool as the one in Council Bluffs.
Yeah,
That's
it
all you
doesn't
need to
seem like
know.
it. It's yeah. I don't know what it is. It's not as famous as some other cursed grave markers. Perhaps it should be. First, it's big. The angel's 9 feet tall, atop something. I don't know. But yeah, I'll look at it later. The one I found though in Council Bluffs is not a statue, but it's a jail.
Squirrel cage?
Yes, and I've never heard of this this rotating jail thing idea. Like,
Yeah.
that seems pretty cool for if you're not in jail. I guess it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a really cool place to visit. I mean, if anybody's cruising through Council Bluffs and they're like, I got to take a dump at Come and Go before we keep going.
Yeah.
If you're looking to, like, spend an hour doing something, check out the Squirrel Cage Jail. It's supposedly there's only a handful of jails like that. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. There's only a handful of jails like that left in the United States. And it was sort of a, you go inside and the jail cells are in this like cylinder and the jail cells like rotate.
That's
for the
crazy.
doors to open and everything. It's really weird. But
That'd be a good place for a
supposedly,
music
like,
video. I don't know if that's focusing or not, but
it's hard to see.
yeah, it's hard to see that one. Oh, yeah.
Nowadays, I mean, they've talked about tearing it down, and they've had organizations raise money to, get the roof fixed and to fix it up. I mean, I would hate to see it torn down.
Yeah.
It's just a really cool piece of the history there. And back when I was a kid, back in the 80s, they used to have a haunted house in there, in October, and you'd go in there and they'd have dudes in the jail cells dressed up, like Frankenstein zombies and yeah, you'd go, it was scary as hell in there, especially when all the lights are turned out and you can like barely see anything and you're like, oh my God, what's going on? Here comes the zombie prisoner guy. And it was amazing. But now, I mean, they would never do anything like that in there nowadays because it's a historically revered, building. So
Sideways Dale's joined us.
Hey, all right.
He's sideways for some reason, but we all know what he looks like, I guess. Welcome back to the United States, by the way.
Thank you. This
Nice to-
stuff, always. The boombox never did this. It was just normal.
I'm just
gonna pretend you're laying on your side.
Yeah, it seems like you're still recovering from the jet lag, I'm sure. So we'll just
you're just
like
relaxing and resting.
Well, Scott, you take a long time to answer the door. I'll tell you that.
Well, we're in the middle of a discussion about the squirrel cage, so I didn't want to just move your head sideways. There you go. Oh, there. Yeah,
Wow.
right. Yes.
You got it.
I'm going to
Welcome,
do that.
Dale. Welcome in.
Thanks. I got to listen to some at the beginning, and then I, had to do the dinner thing and whatnot. So now I'm here.
It's so
I saw your
good to see you, Dale.
Oh yeah, good.
It's been a long time, Matt. I think the last
Yeah.
time we hung out, we both probably didn't have an ounce of fiber in our systems.
Oh no, probably not.
But now I mind my fiber.
Yeah, now we get all the fiber, so we can have nice, healthy stools.
That's
Because
right.
in our middle age, you gotta be careful with the fiber. You gotta pay more attention. You gotta stay hydrated too.
Yeah, hydrated and then the fiber. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it was just pizza and beer back then for me. And the less pizza I ate, the less beer I had to drink, which saved me money. So I get to where I needed to be faster. Oh, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I saw your performance that you posted from London.
Yeah.
It was very good. It looks like the folks there had a jolly good time. Is that how they say? Jolly good time? I don't know how they talk over there.
Yeah, they seemed to get into it. I had to borrow a guitar because I couldn't bring one, but it was in a different tuning than I'm used to. But yeah, I tried to make it work.
Yeah.
Wow. Why couldn't you bring a guitar?
Just more luggage and have to pay for stuff.
He
and-
wasn't
Oh,
allowed.
okay.
He wasn't
It
allowed.
was a pleasure trip. It was a pleasure trip. It was our honeymoon, but you know,
Okay.
we just both wanted to kind of squeeze in some type of performance if we could.
I didn't know if it was just like a London thing, like we don't allow those American guitars in
Yeah.
here.
No,
Ever since the revolution, we banned the Americans from bringing the guitars over. Maybe a lute.
but then they let their people with guitars come over and do the British
Yeah.
invasion, right?
And ruin it.
Yeah, yeah. What's up with that?
We had a great discussion about Bloodcow earlier.
Yeah, I heard.
That's I got one of the albums, the one from that song we were listening to, and I'm gonna check it out because that stuff's awesome.
Man, I told you about them a long time ago. That's cool. It takes
Did
some
you?
people some time. Yeah, I'm a nerd about Bloodcow. I've got every album. I've got 4 shirts.
You've told me about a lot of things, Dale, and you know, like it's just with everybody else, it just kind of goes in one ear and out the other
Yeah.
for some reason, and it's not on purpose. It just that's how I roll. I don't know. I don't mean to, you know.
Well, I mean, I was reading about just the difference in information that you absorb through these digital apparatuses and things
Yeah.
that you tangibly read that you hold in your hands, or albums that you hold in your hands. They make a deeper imprint on your psychology, you know.
Yeah,
And,
they do.
so, yeah, someone can recommend something 1 second, and that band name is in and out of my ear real quick. But
Kind of like the
Yeah.
tell me about Alistair. That
Alistair Crowley.
I don't remember you telling me about that 3 years ago, but that was 3 years ago. So I don't. That you got to give me a break on that one.
I don't think we ever talked about Alistair Crowley. You know what I'm saying?
No, Alistair Stolas. Alistair Stolas from.
Stolas Project. Yeah.
Yeah. His name's Alistair. Did you not know his name? Alistair. It was Alistair.
His name was something else when I met him. He's one of those people who's going through the thing where he kept changing his name. I don't know.
I'll go ahead and plug that, and then I won't talk about any more about me. But tomorrow I'll be at the local tattoo shop. That kind of sounds weird, but went down and got a tattoo on Sunday. See, everything's backwards because it's the camera.
Oh, nice. First one?
No. This is my fourth one.
Okay.
But Kane Lebowski did it, and he also did my first one, which is this one. He did this one years ago, like 10 years ago. So this is the beginning of my sleeve with this one. So I went down and had him do that. Well, he's been hanging out with Alistair Stolas, and so Alistair's going to be playing there live tomorrow from 7 to 9, and I'm going to live stream it. Probably both to here and to Instagram. Since his stuff's not out, I'm okay with. There's not going to be copyrights, to worry about. So.
Yeah, his stuff's he's got some good stuff. I followed up with him after he played that camp I told you about.
And Kane, the guy that did my tattoo, is playing violin with him. So, and it sounds really good. It sounds like really good stuff.
Cool.
So that'll be tomorrow. Anyway.
But yeah, Matt, I wanted to say I'm a big fan of what you've been doing lately too. Not just wanting you to play the hits from the Bloodcow days.
Yeah. It's hard not to. When we did the corporate merger show, after I released that, we played 3 Bloodcow songs afterwards because I pretty much had Bloodcow backing me up, and I had JJ playing guitar and Dave playing drums, and then Scott, who is one of the founding members, from before we even put out any albums, playing guitar, and then Naven just happened to show up, and so we handed him the bass and we're like, here, jump up here, let's do some Bloodcow songs. And we did.
Nice.
And they turned out really well. I was surprised. I still had it in me. I wasn't 3 sheets to the wind and a total maniac like I once was, but
Yeah.
boy, we sure played the heck out of those songs.
And was Crystals and Lasers, was it decided that was the last album, or is it just that you haven't made another one yet?
No, it wasn't really decided that it was going to be the last album. But I don't know. I sort of like looking at Bloodcow as a place and a time, that because I look at us at that time and just how maniacal and insane we all were, and just like party maniacs, and indulging our senses and everything around us. And now we're all older, and I would rather people remember us for that than like a bunch of middle-aged dudes getting up trying to like relive our glory years or, you know, play these songs. That's just sort of how I look at it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you still got the thunder. It's obvious. And that's that album. That album is as solid as everything else that you guys did. But I know personally that after just getting older, it seems impossible to get 3, 4, or 5 people's schedules to line up just enough to practice, let alone play shows or do anything else.
Yeah.
Just with responsibilities, you know.
Yeah.
I guess.
Life happens.
Parenthood and jobs and
Yeah. And now we all live in different cities. You know, I live up here in Sioux City, 87 lives in Des Moines. And then you still got you know, JJ, Dave, and Naven living in Council Bluffs.
okay.
But logistically it'd just be tough. But on the other hand, you know, I just wrote and recorded like, you know, the corporate merger deal. And as far as, you know, most of that was through Zoom. Like, oh, here's the parts, you know, here, you know, with Scott, like, could you play this here? And, you know, and blah, blah, blah. And here, I'm going to, you know, throw together some scratch tracks. I'll email it to you or whatever. I mean, we did, you know, and then when the pandemic wound down, I was able to get down in person to record everything. But even like the new Miho album that we're about to put out, we wrote that entirely over Zoom, living in different cities and everything.
Nice.
Yeah, and we're just bouncing stuff back and forth on Google Drive and now, like, now that we're recording it, I actually drive all the way down to Lincoln, Nebraska, and we get to meet up and be like, "What's up? Let's go eat pizza and beer and get loose stools."
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what
that makes that's cool with the remote, like, you know, practice almost, because when you actually book the studio time and go do it, you're saving yourself time and money by having some of the, you know, the ideas, the broad strokes are out of the way.
Yeah, and well, and you know, with Bloodcow, we were all living together when we wrote all those albums, so it was, you know, it was a totally different era. We were all a lot younger. We were drinking cases of beer and bottles of whiskey, like,
Yeah.
you know, our life depended on it. And
Was it natural style?
What?
Natural style?
No. I think we were pounding a lot of Keystone Light and
you brought out some beer from Iowa that was, or Nebraska, that I'd never heard of, but we drank that all night. It was natural something. It wasn't natural light.
It wasn't
old
Ice.
Style.
Old Style, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a Chicago beer, I believe.
Old style.
Yeah, but I mean, we got it in. We bought it in spades at in Omaha, you know, that and Schlitz. We'd buy tall boy cans of Schlitz back when you could get a 6-pack of tall boys of Schlitz for $3.
Wow.
You just like drive down to Baker's. I mean, it's no wonder everybody was so drunk, you know, in Omaha at that time. And in Omaha, you know, just had amazing venues too. So I mean, they were always, you know, libating us all night.
Yeah. And also the things that change too is every time you go to hit the road, you know, the band that you played with in some town, they broke up. And then the next town, the venue that you played at, they closed or they changed into a bakery. You know, you have to do all that headache kind of work over and over and over again.
Yeah. And then you know, sleeping in the van, you know, I just couldn't imagine my 47-year-old body crunched up in a van between two other people, you know, or sleeping on a hardwood floor every day. You know, I don't really miss that, but I do miss like the adventure, like, where are we gonna sleep tonight? You know? And then you get somebody you don't even know, like, "Hey man, you could sleep at my house." And then you're driving to their house and it's like gun store, liquor store, gun store, liquor store. Oh, we're here. Yeah, stay inside the house. Don't go out there.
Then the nights that you want to party, you get to a house and it's the most lame thing you ever seen, and they say don't make too much noise. My brother's got to wake up for work. And then the nights that you just want to get some sleep, there's people partying until 6 o'clock in the morning and walking over your head. So there's no.
Yeah,
It's seldom that it works out just right. But yeah, when we met, we were all on the same wavelength. We were bands that lived in houses together that would, play these shows and drink all night and hit the road. And yeah.
Did they ever say, don't mind the guys in the white hoods? Did you ever hear that?
No.
No, we even played some shows down south and never heard that.
Never heard that one. That's where it would be freaky, I think. Yeah.
It would be. Yeah. I'd be like, oh, well, never mind us driving out of here.
Yeah, really, yeah. Hey, let's take a listen to another Corporate Merger song.
Okay.
You want to do that? Have you heard this, Dale? Have you heard this stuff?
I've listened to that whole album.
Yes.
But I will repeat, since I don't have a physical copy of it, it's just the titles, the song titles don't stick as much, but yeah. I've listened to it,
You're a physical guy. You like to have the things.
I haven't dropped it in physical media yet.
So. You don't really. It's a do it when you can, if you want type of thing. I use the internet to check stuff out all the time, and then after repeated listens of something, I'll say, okay, I think I want that. But I don't have.
Is it easy to? I mean, where do you get physical copies anymore? If it's because we really don't have record stores anymore. I mean, you have like the local record stores, but like where you put your album and things. But like, are there places at the mall still that you can go get a CD?
I mean, you're not going to get distribution to Best Buy or anything like that anymore. They're all phasing out the physical product. The physical product that you have in major box stores is basically for novelty by major artists, major label artists like Taylor Swift vinyl, 4 different colors of the same album. Buy all 4, and the back of it forms a picture that you don't need. So there's that going on, and they'll reissue the best of the Eagles and AC/DC, but it's just you just got to be in touch with the audience that wants each different format from you. So I mean, for me, CDs don't sell great. The vinyl has been the best way to go, but most people are just streaming stuff. So
I have several albums that bands have given me. They'll mail to me or whatever that I don't even know. I don't even take it out of the vacuum because I have no CD player. I can't play it anywhere.
Yeah.
So I just leave it as it should be.
But surprisingly too, playing shows on the road, it's like I'll have people ask me for CDs but it's a very like specific town and a certain age group that still uses them, but still surprisingly.
Cassettes made a comeback. Cassettes made a comeback too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I look at cassettes though as like a total trash media because they do not have like the lasting, they don't age well like CDs or records do. I'm a big VHS collector, and VHS is another one of those things. I mean, it's tape and it ages, and it just doesn't. But vinyl's forever,
It's true. Yeah.
The only thing that's going to ruin it is if you scratch it or if you play it, 5,000 times. And that's why I think vinyl's one of the greatest ways to listen to music or to buy it if you want a permanent copy. I don't tend to buy CDs any longer.
Yeah. Heat and cold can change the shape of your vinyl a little bit.
For sure.
But CDs, honestly, that they said a lifetime of music, that used to be the guarantee on it, and it is about 80 years shelf life stored properly. But what does not age well are the CDRs that probably your band and mine used to burn stuff to all the time. The foil on the back of the disc starts to separate from the clear plastic.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
If it's not stored just perfectly, and then that's the end of that.
Yeah.
But
speaking of physical media, here's a little story. I'm going to make it quick so we can get to the song. But so when Bloodcow released the last album, Crystals and Lasers, our whole thing was like, we're going to put it on a form of media that's never been created, and then scientists are going to have to figure out how to play it and build a machine that will work around what we've made.
How'd that go?
And unfortunately, none of us had like $1 billion
Yeah.
but it was our original idea.
You guys did do vinyl on that, but it sold out pretty quick, I think.
I actually have quite a few of those left.
I asked about it to you or 87, and I think they said that they were out.
Oh no,
I got a CD of it anyway, but
oh well, if you want a record, you let me know. I'll mail you one.
Oh, hey,
I kind of want one now. I feel like I need to get into the mix of this also.
Okay. All right. Here, hold on. Let me
Yeah, you got one?
let me make the purchase order.
Oh, there, yeah, let's do a purchase order. Yeah, a live purchase order. Here we go. Do Dale's first. Oh, we don't have to give our addresses right now, do we? Social security numbers. Social security numbers also, right?
Okay. I put you in the book. We're gonna make this happen.
I'll follow up with an email.
Yeah,
going forward.
Oh, hey, look at that.
Nice.
It's an official UPS stationery.
Do you work for UPS?
No.
Oh, how did you get that then?
What I wanted to say quickly about physical format before you jump into the song.
Sure.
So you got this great EP, and you say, well, should I spend the money to make a physical product? And it just depends on, like, are you playing shows where you're going to move it? People around you, are there enough people around you that just will want it physically, to justify you at least breaking even on what you spend? Or do you care about, like, spending, I don't know, CDs will only run you like $200 for 100 or something. So if you're fine burning those, meaning saying write it off on your taxes, then do that, because that's the way the labels used to do it all the time. So if you were a band like us back in the day and you wanted to press 1,000 CDs, you technically should press another 1,000 that were never intended to be sold, and they go to radio stations, they go to places that review things. You would have to eat that money, and record labels do that all the time because they can write it off on their taxes as an expense for promotion. How many times have you been at the used record store and saw that little stamp that says for promotional use only, not for resale? And then it's for resale, and then you buy it. But
yeah,
you have to have the capital, to be able to live like that. So if it's not in your budget, it doesn't make sense. You would probably be better off doing this full-length album and making a physical of both albums, or making a mix on a vinyl, putting your favorite songs from the both of them onto one disc vinylly. A vinyl is a word.
Finally, a vinyl.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It is now.
Now that makes that vinyl unique in itself, and that's the reason that people buy it. And if it might take longer to sell it since it's not the album, but it'll just be more special. So yeah, that's the way I've been looking at it, and now I could change my mind tomorrow.
Well, that's what it is. Tell us a little bit about Big Little and why it's not Little Big. And then we'll listen to the song.
Well, Big Little was actually the sort of like the nickname one of my friends gave my grandma's min pin dog. It was this little dog who she like fed to death. It was just like a giant like meatloaf for like pot roast with legs. And it was a big dog in a little dog's body. She was just totally vicious, and hated everybody but my grandma. But the song's not about her.
Okay.
But I did use the name because I just sort of thought it was funny applying it to the subject matter. And I don't want to get like too political, but I told you I wrote all this during the pandemic.
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
But
You're good.
this was about our fearless leader during the pandemic. So that's what this song's sort of about. You can listen to the lyrics and make out the rest for yourself, because I don't want to turn it into a big deal. But Big Little.
Big Little by Corporate Merger. Matt Owen and Dale also joined us from Nashville. And we will talk a little bit more when we get back after the song. Big Little.
falls out of my mouth, splatters onto the floor. I'm so full of it this time that I'm starting a war. And it won't be abroad, it's gonna happen at home. I'm gonna gather my goons, I'm gonna put on a show because I talk out my ass, got no class, lie all the time and you give me a pass. Shake my hand with a pat on the back, go convention. Copulate with my main hate and then I defecate, that's all that you ate. With a shit tooth grin, make you clean up your plate, no convention. If you're out of your mind and you're weak in the heart, then I'll gather around and you'll all play a part in the disinformation, in the spreading of lies. I'm so sacred to you. What will you sacrifice? Because I talk out my ass, got no class, lie all the time and you give me a pass. Shake my hand with a pat on the back, go convention. Copulate with my main hate and when I defecate, that's all that you've ate. With a shit tooth grin, make you clean up your plate, go convention. I got something I want to say, but drink my words and you pass away. But if your mind is soft like clay, I'll mold you into someone insane. Speak in tongues, my chosen ones, project your hate on everyone. On your knees, begin to pray, because your God is working through me, working through me, working through, working through, working through. Whoa! It falls out of my mouth, splatters onto the floor. I'm so full of it this time that I'm starting a war. And it won't be abroad, it's gonna happen at home. I'm gonna gather my goons, gonna put on a show because I talk out my ass, got no class, lie all the time and you give me a pass. Shake my hand with a pat on the back, go convention. Copulate with my main hate and when I defecate, that's all that you made. With a shit tooth grin, make you clean up your plate, go convention. Convention.
That's terrific.
Hooray.
I love that.
Yeah, that's that. I mean, I sent you my two favorite songs, off the EP.
Sure.
But yeah, and that song also deals with just the return. I don't want to say the return because it's always been here, but just like the insane like rise of religious fundamentalism in the United States, that sort of jumped off with that election and then the pandemic and which we're unfortunately still dealing with, in some extreme way. But, wrapped up with a little humor because, like I said, I can't sit there and just worry all the time about all this kind of stuff. I've got to laugh at it. You only live once. You're gonna deal with what we deal with, experience what we experience.
It could always be worse, right?
That's one thing I've always loved about the Merger's lyrics is that they're very poignant, but when you listen to the attitude that they're delivered with, that's tongue in cheek, and if the button's on the atom bomb, it's an oh well, maniacal attitude. And a lot of times, and on this song too, I can notice that there's a second vocal harmony under there that's got a different attitude than the main one, and I think you've always done that, haven't you, Matt?
Yeah.
Where
it's been there for a long time. I mean, it all started with Bloodcow. Bloodcow was always very like, so the side project is called Corporate Merger. And my name, my stage handle in Bloodcow was called Corporate Merger. I was Corporate Merger. And Corporate Merger was really like embodying all the worst things about American society, and the underbelly, everything that's, you know, the slime between the old bricks that are rotting, that's oozing out, you know. And I sang a lot of that from a first person perspective, as in I was, you know, the bad guy. Um, and there's some people who didn't get it, who just thought I was, you know, just trying to be vulgar and gross. But there's all of those songs have something going on behind them, and you know, a lot of them I didn't make super apparent. I just figured if you don't want to pay attention and you're just going to draw that conclusion right off the bat, then this music's probably not for you.
The music's terrific. I mean, the instruments behind it is great too. You know, I'm sitting there going, I can hear all that stuff going on with the guitar. You know, when you put headphones on, you hear all that stuff. You know, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Okay, I didn't hear that before. You know,
And that chorus almost has just a hint, just a sprinkle of kind of an 80s new wave, maybe dark wave like melody to it for a few seconds. It's an interesting transition. That's
Well, you know, one of the interesting things is I'm not a big metal guy, you know, which a lot of people, because I was in Bloodcow, like just automatically assumed I listened to all this metal music. And there are metal bands that I love.
sure.
Don't get me wrong. But I mean, I've always been like a post-punk, punk rock, new wave, you know, guy, you know, or like some of the older, what wasn't goth at the time, but people call goth now, you know, like the Bauhaus and Susie and the Banshees, and huge fan of The Cure, you know,
Yeah.
but also into like bands like Devo. You know, I love Devo. Bands like that, they're just like strangely ironic, you know.
Yeah.
I look at Devo as one of the smartest bands ever. You know, they were just brilliant.
Yeah. And then this album of yours too, it's got a lot of different genre influence on it, you know. Whereas Bloodcow, as awesome as you guys were, was more one speed, you know.
Yeah.
And do you remember like being in the band, was there any pressure to like need to be metal enough? Like if you guys were messing around with a song that broke into a jazz bit for a second, was it like, oh no, you know, now that we've got an audience, it's
Never.
still anything goes?
Yeah, and you'll hear that like you know, on Crystals and Lasers, there's the song Coke Break. If you have the CD, if you have the record, it's not on there. The record is the definitive album, and the CD we threw in some extra songs because we wrote a ton of songs for that album, and then we picked out, you know, the ones that we thought were the best, and we put those on the record. And then the CD, we're like, oh, we'll throw on some bonus tracks, you know.
Well, the very last song on the CD I liked a lot. That was a different direction, you know, the what the fuck song.
let's play a little bit of Coke Break here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Just a little taste.
yeah, that was we went Latin there for a moment. But it's Bloodcow never took ourselves seriously as a metal band. In fact, there's a venue called Sokol Underground. It's not around any longer, but downstairs in the green room there, someone had written on the wall, "Bloodcow is false metal."
What?
And
False
we just
metal?
thought that was the greatest thing ever. We loved it. We loved it.
That's a great t-shirt.
Yes.
We
Yes,
did
it is.
not ever want to be like a serious, like, we're the heaviest band ever type band. We all had too much of a sense of humor to like take that shit seriously. None of us could take it seriously. We're like, we're here to have fun. We're not, you know, we're not a serious, brooding
You guys definitely weren't. It
metal
was
band.
always fun. It was always a sense of humor. But every Bloodcow show I was at, the ones I played with you, like I knew I was going to get floored with some heavy shit. Like
Oh
it
yeah,
was. You guys brought it every single time. So,
yeah,
but when you get a group of people who start getting thinking in a pack mentality, like we're going to the Bloodcow show, we're gonna get fucking heavy, and that brings out the worst in them, or just gives it's almost like a jock mentality, like they better fucking rock,
yeah.
you
Is there
guys
any
didn't
hope?
rock quite as hard as you did last time,
Is there any way that a Bloodcow reunion would happen?
Not likely.
Oh, man.
There would be a lot of factors that would have to fall into place to make that happen. I don't think it's because any of us are against doing it, but it would just be really difficult. And I, 87 lives in Des Moines, and I don't think he would have. I live in Sioux City, and I still think he would have a harder time making it happen. And if we were going to do a Bloodcow reunion, because like towards the end, we were doing shows without 87, and we were
Okay.
having some of our friends fill in, for him, and it just isn't the same.
Yeah, the duel JJ and him back and forth and the harmonies, the almost Thin Lizzy type of harmonies that they brought together.
Yeah.
I'm thinking a Bloodcow reunion with a Patsy reunion with it would just be epic. Why wouldn't it be, right?
It would be. It would.
It's a weird feeling when you've done something like that and you move on and everyone's moved on to different things that it's like digging it up. I mean, it's like digging up a relative almost. It's in poor taste. Leave it alone.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how I feel about Bloodcow. Bloodcow, it's like a snapshot, and I love looking at it, and I don't want to. It's just like, hey, we're gonna fucking make Nightmare on Elm Street 23.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like it's like Star Wars. Haven't you milked this shit long enough? Like, can we stop now? I don't want Bloodcow to ever get there. I want people to like look at those albums, remember those shows, and have that memory of Bloodcow. I don't want them to have the memory of like, oh, remember when Bloodcow got back together and
nobody wants that. Nobody wants that
on stage. And
it's like a sequel to a movie, right? Yeah.
If it came down to it, if somebody asked you, it's like, would you guys do one show as a reunion or would you do one more album? I personally think if someone asked me about that with like my old bands, I would prefer to just do a one-off show and go through the trouble that takes, rather than the trouble it would take to do an album with the guys again, really knocking the rust off of everybody's, stuff.
That would be tougher, I would think. It's especially a tour would be tougher too because you have to knock out all these dates. But yeah, one-off show would be cool. But you're right. I mean, like, why? It's kind of like the saying: "If it's not broken, don't fix it." If you think as a band it's perfect the way it is and it shouldn't be touched, by all means leave it like that.
Let's see. What about Bloodcow? You have kind of a perfect discography. If I'll kick through it real quick, it might not be in perfect order, but I mean, we had Kill Bodies, then Railroad City, or Railroad City, then Kill Bodies.
Kill Bodies first, then Railroad City. Yep.
Railroad City. Then it was Hellzenia.
Yeah.
And then there was there was a split you did with Motherboar.
Yeah.
And then Crystals and Lasers.
Super fan. Right here.
Yeah, you can go. So,
hell yeah.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, and you had like the first two albums had the same roster of the band, and then the next two albums had the same roster of the band.
Dave joined on Hellzenia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Dale knows more about the band than he can do your biography.
It's on speed dial up.
That
here,
VH1 show was like biography.
Well, I heard Matt talking earlier about the Patsy album, and it's like Bloodcow is just one of those bands where their albums are in my regular
Yeah.
carousel of stuff like a real band. You know, instead of bands, you know, it doesn't count if you know the people. Those aren't real people. Those are local band. It's like, well, no,
I want to wrap up the live stream. We can talk after the live stream's over. We'll stay on them, but,
All
that
right.
way you guys can
Yeah.
catch up some more. But Matt, I want to thank you very much for representing Iowa for the first time on the show. That's big for me. Thank you for that.
Corn, people. It's all about the corn.
It's all about the children of the corn, right? Or the adults of the corn.
That's right. Oh, speaking of which, real quick,
Okay.
I live 20 minutes away from the city that Children of the Corn was filmed in, and I have gone to their Children of the Corn. Like they have a Children of the Corn every other year, a Children of the Corn like big deal where they play it, like they block off the main road, the main strip. They have a big screen and they show it like
That's
on
hilarious.
35 millimeter. And they get like when I went a couple years ago, it was the director of Children of the Corn was there.
You
and
should have
he did,
mentioned this
like,
during the landmark segment. What happened
Oh,
to that?
man.
That's that's huge.
well, it's a
Well,
different
yeah,
city.
yeah. That's
But
true.
it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. And I happen to know a guy here in Sioux City. He's an artist. And he was one of the little kid extras. So they had like a bunch of the little kids like who were extras in the movies, and they got them together there and stuff. And he was there, and it was sweet. But anyway,
Oh,
and
that's cool.
the guy from the Goonies is in the Children of the Corn.
Which one?
Uh,
I'm testing your knowledge here.
I don't know which corn child he is, but
Oh,
he
Corn
plays he plays Hans Christian Andersen in the Goonies.
Corn
Not
child.
not the Goonies, not the Goonies, the
Not the
Burbs. The Burbs.
oh, the Burbs, yeah. I know who you're talking about. He's Malachi in
Yes.
the Children of the Corn. Yeah.
Man, I don't have these kind of. I can't remember things like that. You guys are good at this.
Outlander. Yeah.
Outlander.
Well, Matt, thank you again for being on. Dale, thanks for jumping in, even though it was a little bit late. But I think it was a great surprise for those that didn't know that you were.
Yeah, I didn't talk too much and steer you guys off of your course, did I?
No, we weren't really
Hey,
on
man,
a
I
course.
had a great time.
I just came to bring a blood offering, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh, they were, he is, and he shall be again.
I'm glad you made it back from London in one piece,
Yes.
and you didn't bring anything back with you, like disease wise, did you? Okay, good. Are you rested up from the? It's not really that much of a jet lag, really, though, is it?
It's 6
What,
hours.
5
ahead.
hours?
Yeah, it's enough
Yeah.
to
Enough to mess you up a
screw
little
you
bit.
up for a couple of days.
But you're good now, right?
Yeah, I think so.
How's Bev? How's Bev doing?
She's good.
She's good. She was in the chat while we were discussing things, and she when the song was playing, she said, "I love a good political song. This one is great." And then when you were mentioning all those bands, she said, "I love all these bands." And then she said, "Hi, Scott." So like I was last to be mentioned.
Ah,
It's not all about me though. It's all about Matt.
that's right.
Well, heck, what can I say? Sometimes
very
it's
nice-
just all about me.
It's very nice to meet you. Come back sometime. Let's talk about
Oh,
other
yeah.
stuff. Let's talk about other things and more corn
Yeah.
children. And we'll do a show with Dale. Maybe
Oh,
both at once. We'll do a 2-band banger. I haven't done one of those in a while.
All right.
Is that Bev right there? Let me
sounds
see her. Let me see her. Let's tell her to get back in the frame.
What's that?
I want to see Bev. Is that Bev or Tallulah?
This is Tallulah.
Hi, Tallulah.
Tallulah does have a message from Matt, though.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
I like the song and I dance to it.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad people dance to my music. Makes me happy.
I'm going to be dancing a lot more to it.
Bye.
Bye.
Says bye.
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 Tallulah's cool. Tallulah used to be on the show a lot. Back at the beginning when you and Bev were on. Right?
Yes. Yeah. I was just thinking, I didn't know they were watching along. I would have watched my language a little more. Oops.
Oh well, I can bleep it out, but unfortunately they watched it live, so I can't bleep about live things.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
This technology is crazy. We were talking about that. All right. Well, tomorrow I will be down at the tattoo shop, not getting another tattoo because I'm still healing. But they're doing a music. He's going to start doing a music thing of sorts every month, and featuring different kinds of music. Just in the right, it's a very small space, but he wants to keep it like that. He doesn't want to make it a big deal. You know, there's going to be tickets, and I think this one's sold out already just because it's the first one. But Alistair Stolas and the Stolas Project will be playing, and I will be live streaming. So if you're available around 7 p.m. tomorrow or whenever, it'll still be up on the thing when it's over with, just like all of these shows are. I will be down there, and I'll talk to him a little bit too. I'll do a little bit of an interview, not too much since it's this show, but he said, yeah, maybe during the break we'll kind of do a little thing. So that'll be cool, something a little bit different. And then I don't know. I didn't look at my schedule, so I don't know what else is coming up. But it's all up on the thing, on the the YouTube and the schedule and stuff. I do know we're going back to Finland. But this time it's going to be a shoegaze band, not the crazy Finnish metal punk, whatever it is, not like Rascal Feast that Dale was on with the very first time. It's nothing like that. It's shoegaze, and it's really, really, really good stuff. That they're called Moonwards, and they will be on. And then I'm doing a Halloween show, but not on Halloween. I'm doing it on the 27th. And Dale, there's something haunting my studio. It doesn't bother me, but I caught it on I'll play it for you guys after we quit the live stream and see what you think about it. But I sent it to this guy I know in North Carolina that's a paranormal investigator, and I think his wife is like a medium or something like that. And so we're going to investigate this during the show on the 27th at 8 p.m.
Fun.
If you'd like to watch for the Halloween thing. I kind of laugh at the paranormal stuff because I've never experienced anything like that before. Like I said, the thing doesn't bother me. It's just something I captured when I was interviewing somebody here. It just came up on the audio. I don't know what it is, but they want to investigate through Zoom. So that's what we're going to do for Halloween. So, Dale, I have a new camera tonight.
Looks good to me.
It's going to be my okay. Beverly says I'll have to tell you about how I was possessed in London. What?
Yeah. She got possessed. It happens all the time.
Yeah, it's London. It's going to happen.
I was like, possessed again while we're on our honeymoon.
Yeah, we're supposed to be celebrating, right?
Yeah, it was cool. She was kind of like the guy at the end of Howard the Duck.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Jones?
Yeah.
That's significant. Hey, Matt, I want to send you out some I noticed you had some tattoos on your arms and probably elsewhere, but I have temporary ones that I'd like to send out to you.
Oh yeah.
I have a Keep Me Alive stickers I'd like to send out to you also.
All right.
Let me know your snail mail, and I will snail mail you some snail mail.
All right. I'll definitely get that to you.
The outro song tonight is a band that I just discovered literally just like a couple days ago through my friends in Gloomer. Gloomer is from Pittsburgh, and they were on a long time ago, but I've kept up with them. They've gotten signed. They've done the thing, and they're playing in December at Remedy in Pittsburgh with a band from Buffalo, New York called Previous Love. And I've sent them an email, try to get them on hopefully before December. To talk to them about what their band's all about. It's shoegazy stuff, but it's really good. The song's called Psycho Pomp, if you will. So we'll listen to that. Matt, thank you once again for being on. Dale, thanks for jumping in. And stick around. We'll talk a little bit after I kill the live stream, and you guys can catch up a little bit more. And I will see everybody tomorrow at 7 p.m. from Clarksburg at Stain by Kane's tattoo shop, and we'll listen to Alistair Stolas and the Stolas Project play. I will see you then. Have a great night.
I don't know how to.
Having fun.